The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
The mind of Pat Popolizio is a wondrous thing. And for you Pac wrestling fans, you'll get to go inside the mind of the Skip each and every episode here on the Pac Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. Now, here's your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt.
On location, welcome to a special episode of the Pac Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. I'm your host, Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt, and joining me from the biggest little city in the world, Reno, Nevada, the head coach of the Wolfpack, Pat Popolizio.
Morning, Brian. Looking forward to this episode talking Pac wrestling. This should be good information out here today.
Pat, you did say good morning. It is 4 a.m. We are in the Reno airport. We had to wait for security to open the gates. There was no airport shuttle. A little adversity this early Monday morning.
Wouldn't want it any other way. See how we handle that, and I think we battled through it pretty good.
You know, I'm kind of glad I packed the podcast equipment this week. We had a nice trip out to Reno. Before that, a huge win at Nebraska. And we were also able to catch up with a WWE Hall of Famer. So we'll be getting to that interview in a little while. But, Pat, it's been a lot of travel here early in the airport, but a great weekend for the Wolfpack.
No doubt. It's a trip that feels like we've been on the road for a week. I can only imagine what the guys were going through, finishing up finals, and then the travel we've been doing. We've been up early last couple of days, so looking forward to getting back to Raleigh and catching up with some training and maybe a little bit of rest.
Yeah, I think some sleep will be good this first flight. I'm sure everybody will be knocked out pretty quickly, but we'll be back in Raleigh. Like you said, the guys are done with finals, so we're going to be getting back on Tuesday here. What is the plan for you guys over the next couple of days?
Number one is get back, see where we're at as far as minor injuries. You know, you go through a tournament like we just did, guys are going to get a little banged up, which is pretty common, wrestling 5-6 matches now. And then we need to hit it pretty hard. This is a cycle of training that we're looking forward to. We kind of backed off pretty good the last week or so, knowing that we were going to get a lot of matches in this week, going through finals. The training really, it was more focused in on some individual stuff and getting ready for what we just saw. So it should be a good couple of days for training for us, and then hitting the break.
So we're not going to get into much housekeeping this episode. It's really an unscripted edition. We just popped up the podcast equipment here at the airport before we catching our flight. But for our listeners and anybody new out there, we do apologize. The audio quality might not be as good. We're not in your luxurious office up at WB, Pat, but we're making do, and we just want to push this content out really faster.
Yeah, no doubt, and I appreciate you bringing all the equipment and taking the time to do this. It's your hard work and dedication is definitely going noticed in our world. I can tell you that. My
Pac mentality has been tested a little bit this week.
Yeah,
traveling.
You're durable. You're tough. You didn't put your head down one time on this trip, and I'm proud of you.
Per diem check really helped. That
did you double it? That's the big question.
No. Coming back with a little less, but nonetheless here. We're going to get to this episode of the Pac Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. We're going to start out. The scene was Nebraska, Big Ten country. Number 6, NC State, traveling number 12, Nebraska. It was probably the premier duel of the week. Rough, it was a nice, loud crowd in there, dollar tickets. They were featuring 2 Olympians, but you guys really went in there and didn't give the crowd much to cheer about. The Pac came out blazing, won 9 of the 10 matches, including the final 8, and came away with an impressive 29-3 road win at number 12 Nebraska. So, Pat, can you just talk about the team effort?
I think very impressed and pleased with the performance we put out there. We knew going in every match was going to be a battle, and there was a lot of matches on paper that were going to be really close and a lot that we probably weren't favored in. And leaving there, winning 9 out of 10, I hope our guys left there with the same mentality as I did. We're going to leave there with some confidence of where we're at as a program. That's really our first true test as far as getting on a flight, flying out there, dealing with the travel, and then how do you respond with the weight plan that we had for some of these guys and the traveling and rest that you need in between training and hotel. So it was good. And we showed up. the good news is I know we're still not close to our best, and we're, able to leave with a lot of wins and some good wins, and that's what we wanted. Just give everybody a mental and physical test, and we got that.
And you mentioned some of that. The Pack won 3 individual top 10 matches and held a team that has 3 straight top 10 NCAA finishes to its lowest dual total since 2010. Dual started at 157. This was one of the premier matchups coming in. This was the first top 10 win for the Pack. Number 16, Hayden Hidley, defeated returning All-American Tyler Berger 6-3. Hayden scored a takedown the first and then got a reversal on a takedown and didn't get taken down the match. Signature win for Hidley, who improves to 8-0, and what a start for the Wolfpack.
No doubt. We knew that was going to be a key matchup right there. More for the individual side of things, where he's at, and knowing, we get to see him every day, so we know what he's able to accomplish and the level that he's at physically. And he needs to see it now with the results that he's putting up, and know he's one of the best guys in the country and putting himself to compete this year realistically to win a national title. That's his goal. And I think we left here this weekend knowing if you can beat a guy that's placed as high as he did last year and turn around the next, 2 days later and beat a guy that was in the national finals, I think that's a no-brainer, and he needs to go into this break knowing, coming back, second part of the season here, that he's the best guy in the country and continue to get better. And it's going to be dangerous because he still has a lot of room to improve, and that's what makes him very scary right now, being a freshman in our lineup.
And we're going to touch on him a little bit better about what he did in Reno. But back to Nebraska, they got a win at 165 to even it. And then redshirt freshman Daniel Bullard battled back and forth and got a stall call late for him that gave him the 6-5 win. Talk about the performance of another redshirt freshman in that crowd.
Yeah, you get these freshmen in this environment. It's the first time they've been, one, traveling and dealing with a little bit of adversity, the unknown. And when we recruited these guys, we recruited them for these situations, and they all stepped up to the plate big time. Their demeanor, they're pretty level-headed when we go out there to compete, and they don't get rattled. And he kept his composure and just kept wrestling, and as being as hard-nosed, as tough as he is, he came away with that win late and made a statement for himself. And as the season goes on, he's only going to get better and better.
And I would say the match at 184 was one of the 2 most exciting of the night. The second top 10 win for NC State. Number 3, Pete Renda, scored a 9-6 decision over number 6, Taylor Vance. The match started out very quickly. Vance got a takedown. Renda got a reversal all in the first 15 seconds. Then from there, Vance scored on another reversal. Renda with his second reversal, and it was 8-4 after the first. Maybe we thought it was going to be a high scoring. That kind of turned. The second period, Vance rode out Renda, but Renda returned the favor once again, rode Vance the entire third, and tacked on the ride time for the final margin. It was an exciting one to watch from my spot.
Yeah, well, sometimes you get in those when you're watching and coaching. You want to see points getting put up there, but that one was wild, going back and forth. And what I liked about that is, Pete was wrestling one of the better kids in the country, and same thing. We're going on the road, and it was something we knew, that matchup right there to win the duel. Obviously, starting at 57, we knew that was going to be a big match to get some momentum going. And Pete hasn't been at his best so far this year, and it was a match. I think there were a lot of mistakes made, but it was gritty, it was tough, and looking back at it, wouldn't want it any other way for him right now to see a true test where he was going to be at with, the ref gets involved a little bit and starts hitting some stall calls that, maybe were needed to get him motivated, and he responded to it. It didn't rattle him, and he kept his composure and figured out, going into the third period what he had to do to win that match, and he did it. And it might be a match that's going to be like that in the national tournament. Semifinals, it might be the same kind of situation, and he's got to keep his composure like he did. So I think he left there. Watching him at Reno now, he dominated his way through that weight class, and that was a match I think that he needed to let him know that he is the best guy in the country and good enough to win a national title. And he just needs to continue to have that mentality.
I don't think Pete really wanted to be on the mat too much in Reno. 4 first period pins. That was pretty impressive.
That's how good Pete Renda is, and when he's on, he is dangerous. And we just need to learn from this past weekend and know that, there in this sport, you're going to compete so much that you're never going to be ultimately at your best. And we need to know when Pete's at his best, he's that good, and continue to build confidence on it.
Now, those next three matches at Nebraska might have been close on paper, but my unbiased opinion, I think NC State controlled all three from the start with some early takedowns. Number 7, Machiavello at 197 picked up a 6-2 win. McDonald at heavyweight, 9-5 against a guy much bigger than him, but he just kept picking him up and kept slamming him down. And
little WWE style right there. Right?
I tell you what, it was pretty impressive. We had some fans, I even joked. I said, I think McDonald weighed in at 198. Their heavyweight was at 284. There's a pretty big size difference there. And then at 125, Tommy Cox got the ride time point, gutted out a 7-6 win at 125. So solid win by all three guys.
Yeah. The takedowns early, I think, set the tone for those matches and being aggressive. And that's what we want. When we talk about NC State wrestling, we want guys going out there attacking, putting points up, not standing around, and all those guys did that. Machiavello, obviously, his style of wrestling is hard-nosed, tough, going to be relentless, and good match for him. It was one that was battled hard on both ends and came away on top. I'm proud of the way that he competed this whole weekend and where he's at in this part of the season. McDonald, same thing. He was undersized, but I think that works to his advantage when you look at heavyweight, and his speed, I think, makes up for it. And obviously right now he's continuing to get better technically. And, one mistake this weekend. Otherwise, I think his progress is right where we want him at. And, he knows he needs to continue to get better in little positions, and we'll keep working on it. It's early, and I think he's a guy at the end of the year you're going to see doing some big things at heavyweight just because of his offense and his conditioning is in a very good spot for 285. Tommy Cox, this year has been a good surprise to our program. His attitude, the results he puts up right now has been very impressive. Sean Foss being out of the lineup and now back officially full-time. Tommy did a great job what he needed to do for us and getting a lot of wins and valuable experience, because I think as his career progresses here at NC State, he's going to be a guy that's going to put himself in position to accomplish his goals and do something special for this program. So, we're going to continue to get better, and everybody's going to gain valuable experience, and winning that match at Nebraska was huge for Tommy Cox.
NC State was finally able to break through, I guess you could say, a little bit, but Tariq Wilson dominated with his bouts, scored a 17-1 tech fall in the second period, multiple near falls. You told our fans he'd be exciting to watch. He had a big ability to score, and he did not disappoint.
No, and that's what we want. Again, guys that can put up points, be fun and aggressive, and he's all of that. And love watching him wrestle because he can score at any given time, and definitely keeps his composure out there for a freshman. I think he's pretty seasoned already, and he's been in some tough matches. Had some big wins this weekend with guys that have good experience at the national tournament. So I think it's one of those. We just need to get him in position for people to know how good he is, and I think this weekend he knows that, we know that, and I think the rest of the country is starting to see, he's a guy that can contend at the end of the year, and just needs to keep getting better. One or two little mistakes this weekend, and I think he, can find himself on a different side of the results. And but we're going to leave here knowing that we need to work on a few things, and we're going to get better from this weekend. And I think he sees the same thing.
And the third top 10 win came at 141 as number 2 Kevin Jack defeated number 8 Chad Red. Not only did Jack improve to 8-0 on the season, but he also became only the 5th NC State wrestler to record 100 career wins. That speaks to what an accomplishment that century mark really is, because NC State has more national champions than wrestlers that have 100 career wins.
Yeah, that's a tall order right there. In college wrestling, winning 100 matches, that's a lot of good experience for any program that you're going to be at, and that's what Kevin brings. And he's a winner, he's a competitor, and he goes out and puts it on the line every time he competes, and that's what you're going to get, a lot of wins when you do that. And he's going to keep adding to that resume here halfway through the season for him. And we came out this weekend knowing we still got to continue to get better and keep working on some things. But at the end of the day, Kevin has put this program to a new level from his what he brings with the competitive side of things and his attitude, and just overall a very positive to our program.
And it wasn't easy, but the last bout was just as exciting as 184. Number 7, Bo Donahue, put together a ferocious third period, secured the final takedown with 13 seconds left and won 11-10. Pat, it really shows some effort on Bo's part when the team win is more than secured, but Bo wanted that individual win.
Yeah, and that was great to see, because at the end of the day, that's when you define your program, what you're about and what you're looking for out of your guys. That was it. You know, you get a little adversity thrown at you, you get behind early, and how are you going to respond? Are you just going to accept it and go out there and say, you know what, the gap is too far to close, and I'm just going to stay in here and make it competitive? Or you're going to put it on the line and try to win that kind of match? And that's what Bo did, and I think he needed that, for a boost of confidence, to know that his conditioning is where it is, and more importantly, that his offense and the mentality that he brings is going to put him in position anytime he needs to score. He can do that, and I think we grew a lot as an individual, and our guys gained confidence on that, knowing if we're down, we can still win matches, because it wasn't like he was down by a point. So to come back and fight through that was big.
And we had a lot of Wolfpack fans both watching on the Big Ten Network, and we really want to thank them for the TV production in the stream, although we do question their wrestler of the match selection.
I've been told that it has to be given out to a Big Ten wrestler, which kind of makes sense. So I understand that's the way it is, because, we could all make our votes to who got that.
That's the official word. There were some off-the-record comments made after that about that. But there's so much interaction, too, on Twitter, at PackWrestle this weekend, where we were trending after the win. And, Pat, it's just great to see that so many eyes are on Wolfpack Wrestling.
Yeah, no doubt. We need that. If we're going to contend to win a national title, we're going to need the support from the local people and the local community, high school, and just casual NC State athletic fans. That's what these programs that have produced and won national titles, that have history and tradition. And to put us in that spot, these guys need to see that, and the stands need to be full. And it's good people talking about Pack Wrestling. These guys deserve it. They work hard. They're doing a lot of things behind the scenes to be active in the community, and everybody's making their mark on the academic side of things here. So their reward right now is people back in the program and filling the stands. That means a lot to them, and obviously us as coaching staff.
So, Pat, we're here in the airport, and I see some gate people starting to open up, and I know you're a guy who likes to upgrade. You need to get out of this middle seat that Melissa put you in. So one more quick question. So
real quick on that. So you know how you were playing and you lost your per diem money? Mine went to the economy upgrade, so my legs aren't going to be bunched up in the seat in front of me.
I don't know if that shows pack mentality and adversity that you're talking about, but final thoughts on Reno. The team won the team trophy, 3 individual champions, 7 finalists, 12 of the 15 placed in the top 5 at their weight. So a good tournament for NC State.
Yeah, I think when you look back this summer, and I put this on the schedule, I did it for multiple reasons. And we got everything we wanted out of this tournament. Tend to focus on the negative things, because that's just nature when you're competing, because you want to be perfect and you want to win. But I think it's important to focus on the positive side of things. We did a lot of great things this weekend. And the guys that didn't, I know it put us in position to go back and reassure what we've been working on, that we only need to do it more, continue to get better at it. And I think when March comes, we're going to be in a good spot mentally and physically to fix the mistakes that we made, because at the end of the day, there were just little mistakes made to capitalize with a couple guys in the finals. But I was very impressed with the whole demeanor this weekend with our team. And Hayden going out there, getting that win for a freshman, it speaks volumes for where he's at as an individual. It's another guy now that really can make a run come March. And I think, you got right now 5 to 7 guys that if they continue to do the right things, I think realistically they're going to find themselves pretty high on the podium in March. And I think the sky's the limit for all these guys. There's no one that's going to ultimately stop them from their goals other than themselves. And we're going to continue to work as a program. But we came out here to find out some of our weaknesses, and we'll attack them head on starting tomorrow.
So, Pat, thanks for wanting to tape this before we boarded that 5 a.m. flight back to Raleigh. I'm not sure either one of us are on our game right now, but it sure was fun to go back and recap a great weekend for NC State wrestling.
Yeah, always willing and able to talk wrestling. No better time to do it before the sun's coming up, and appreciate all your time and effort that you've been putting into this.
Now, stay tuned, Wolfpack fans, as our special guest, WWE Hall of Famer Gerry Brisco, is up next. Welcome back, Wolfpack fans. We are now joined by WWE Hall of Famer Gerry Brisco here in Reno, Nevada. Gerry, it's a little hard to get together with us. You had a busy schedule flying, but I want to thank you for joining us on this podcast.
Oh man, I'm really looking forward to it. When you first contacted me, I was really psyched up. Pat, as a former Oklahoma State Cowboy, as I am, so anything I can do to help, I'm more than honored.
Now, this is one thing. You had a great pro wrestling career, but you were a former Oklahoma State Cowboy, just like the head coach here, Pat.
Yes, I was. I was there from 60 to 64. I followed my brother in, who was a national champion and two-time All-American. And so I was a local Stillwater guy. I was one of those guys that, you know, your brother moves and the whole family moves. I was a wrestling family. So followed whoever was in school around wherever they went.
And Pat, you're telling me you guys actually haven't crossed paths before, but, I mean, two former Oklahoma State Cowboys just picked it right up.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, that family tradition that they have over there and the history and tradition that runs deep. So I think anytime you get to cross paths and meet up, and then obviously following his career and knowing, you know, every day that I was able to walk in there, you see all the greats, the names, and everybody that has left their mark on that program. So it's just an honor to have him a part of this and catch up and pick his brain a little bit.
So, Gerry, got to ask you, we're at the Reno Tournament Champions. What necessarily do you do to come and, you scout a little bit and watch? So what's your role right now?
Well, this is my fourth year coming here, and I always look, and I'm looking at anybody from 174, 75 on up. Of course, I like the heavyweights. That's what WWE is, the big guys. But we now have a different weight class, the 205 weight class. So the 84s, the 75s, if they got some height on them, you know, we can put weight on them. Well, we have a training facility in Orlando that matches just about any D1 program in the United States.
Now, Pat can tell you, I am probably one of the biggest WWE fans around. We have a former heavyweight, Nick Wisdowski. We see him and you go back and forth on Twitter a lot. Now, he's kind of busy doing the World Cup, trying out for the Olympics and doing all that, but how much do you want to see him to a contract to get him down to that training facility?
Oh, well, yeah, I'm a human being, and I'd love to see Nick in a WWE contract. He's made such huge followers out of a lot of guys to the Wolfpack wrestling, and I've made Ric Flair, Shane Hurricane Helms, who comes to a lot of your meets. Sergeant Slaughter, who's close by, follows you guys real religiously, and so what a great program Pat has built here, you know, and there's many other guys. I enjoy the wrestling style because it's a mix of Pat's upbringing in New York and it's Cowboy style. They're very aggressive style, so that's what I like to see, aggressive young men out there, and then Pat and his crew put together a team every year that's now is no longer a surprise when they're in top 10. It's a surprise if they're not in the top 10.
And Pat, that's one thing I love when we get these WWE connections. But for you, how is it that so many different eyes are on the Wolfpack program?
Yeah, I think Gerry hit it on the head. You know, we a couple years ago we're trying to make our mark and grow and get to a certain level. And, you know, now I think we've created those expectations, and that's what we want as a program. It's a little different feel for us now when we go to compete. Our guys obviously got a little target on their back. We want that because I think at the end of the year that's what's going to matter. And that, you know, looking forward, that's going to be a little bit of the difference this year is how do we handle that and deal with that kind of situation. And that's why we're here today, to kind of see that kind of setting. These experiences are going to make us better. And going back to the Nick and getting his contract, I think that's something that's always talked about jokingly and whatnot. And he's got some big goals he's got to accomplish, and then I think if you stay on him, I think we're going to work on him on every aspect.
Well, I'm sure I'm going to have some help there, Pat. You and one of your former assistants, Frank Beasley, that left you guys. Frank is a good friend also, and Frank's a big help. But Gwiz was honest with me right off the bat, and that's what I respect about him. You recruit class young men, and that's what makes a program. It is not only a great competitor in the room, but a great citizen outside. And Nick told me right away when I first started talking to him, I got some golds. And I said, what are they? He told me I want to be an Olympic champion. I said, man, I'm not going to be that guy that says, come with me first, because I want you to achieve your dreams. If you don't achieve your dreams, you're sitting in an arena one night watching the Olympics. Man, I could be there if it hadn't been for that damn Brisco. I don't want to be that guy. I want these guys to go out and achieve their dreams.
Yeah, and I think you hit it on the head. Nick's a pretty straightforward, pretty honest guy, and he does. He's working extremely hard right now, traveling all over the world and staying busy, and we appreciate everything he's been doing for our program and him chasing his goals right now. And I think, every week he gets better. He had a great performance over in Iran, and I think he's going to take this and keep moving forward and get better and better.
Certainly, I was in Paris and watched him win the bronze medal at the World Championships. Was extremely proud. I ran into Frank over there, and we hugged, and I was so happy for Nick, and my roots run real deep into Carolina wrestling. That was my station there when I first got out of Oklahoma State. Went to Carolinas in the 70s, and Bill Lamb, of course, was a Sooner.
Don't say that around God.
And so, but I got the promoter there sponsored a trophy, the Joe Murnick Outstanding Wrestler Trophy. I don't know if they still pass that thing out, but Murnick got a couple of scholarships to Bill, and Bill thanks me every time I see him, and so. My wife is a Tar Heel, but I wear proudly. Pat has been generous enough to hook me up with some NC State wrestling shirts. So every weekend I put on my NC State wrestling shirt, and my wife gives me grief about it.
Well, it's a good color for you. It looks good.
And I guess you kind of talked about you scout individuals, but you're a very big collegiate fan too. So just talk about, you have watched the NC State program from afar a little bit and just seen the progress. How proud are you of what Pat's done, especially since he's a former Cowboy?
Well, I'm extremely proud. And I look at the Tobacco Road there, and over at Duke, there's a Cowboy. Over at Carolina, there's a Cowboy. And of course, I'm sitting with one of the best Cowboys, and I'm very proud. Once you step in that Cowboy room, Pat mentioned it earlier, the tradition, the history, and the drive that come out of there. I was stuck behind two great world champions, eventually Bill Harlow and Fred Fozzard. Fred was actually the first United States world freestyle champion. And, of course, Sanders likes to claim it out in Oregon, but Fred wrestled first, even though Sanders was a lighter weight. So Fred was the first world champion, an Oklahoma State Cowboy. He and I were in the same recruiting class together, and I was stuck behind those two. But you know what? I stuck it out. I didn't quit. That's one thing wrestling teaches you. It teaches you that determination. I learned so much that I applied to my pro career, not only in the ring, but business-wise, social-wise, and just all the great things that Oklahoma State environment teaches you. Now that's being taught there at NC State, and I'm so happy for the program there.
Well, Gerry, I know I speak for Pat. It was great for myself to meet you today. I'm glad we could connect you two a little bit. We have to get you to Raleigh to come to an NC State duel. We're trying to get some celebrities and all that. Pat is constantly working the phones for that. But want to thank you today for coming out and joining us on the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. You're our first celebrity guest, and to me, probably not a bigger guest we can get.
Well, I sure appreciate it, and go Pack.
That's today's edition, Wolfpack fans. Thank you for listening. Go Pack.
The Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast is produced by the Mat Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, go to MatTalkOnline.com.